Hey, question for you. How did you sleep last night? Was it easy for you to fall asleep? And did you sleep well? Well, I sure hope so. I hope that you get restful nights of sleep. You know that some people do have difficulty falling asleep, but I hope you're not one of those people. If you have trouble sleeping, maybe you want to think about a rhyme from Scotland entitled Wee Willie Winkie. Yeah, Wee Willie Winkie is apparently this man who goes around and checks in on children to see if they are asleep. Now, as I was reading this poem, I read a Scottish version, and I tried to read the original words, the Scottish words, and even speak with a Scottish accent, but I couldn't. So I'm not even going to attempt it for today's video. What we're going to do is read the poem in the English version of it. And some of these words just don't quite make sense in our current language, but let's see if we can understand it. Wee Willie Winkie runs through the town, upstairs and downstairs in his nightgown. Tapping at the window, crying at the lock, are the children in their bed, for it's past 10 o'clock? Hey, Willie Winkie, are you coming in? The cat is singing purring sounds to the sleeping hen. The dog spread out on the floor and doesn't give a cheep, but here's a wakeful little boy who will not fall asleep. Anything but sleep, you rogue, glowering like the moon, rattling on an iron jug with an iron spoon, rumbling, tumbling round about, crowing like a cock, shrieking like I don't know what, waking sleeping folk. Hey, Winky Willie, Willie Winkie, gotta start that again. Hey, Willie Winkie, the child's in a creel, wriggling from everyone's knee like an eel, tugging at the cat's ear and confusing all her thrums. Hey, Willie Winkie, see, there he comes. Weary is the mother who has a dusty child, a small, short, little child who can't run on his own, who always has a battle with sleep before he'll close an eye, but a kiss from his rosy lips gives strength anew to eye. Well, that was interesting. Reading these poems sometimes just gets our mouths all twisted, our tongues twisted, just like Peter Piper. Remember that one? Wow. Well, I've never seen Wee Willie Winkie, and I really don't want to. It would seem a bit weird to have someone I don't know checking in to see if I was asleep or not, right? Yeah. And as I said before, I don't have a problem falling asleep. I can sleep hard. And I can probably sleep when I shouldn't. Yeah, do you know there are some times in the Bible when some people fell asleep when they shouldn't have? Do you remember any of those stories? Well, I'm thinking of two times. One time was with the disciples of Jesus who were in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus. It was the night he was arrested and before he was crucified. From Matthew 26, we read this story. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, that's James and John, along with him. And he began to be sad and troubled, and he said to them, my soul is very sad. I feel very close to death. Stay here, and please keep watch with me. He went a little further, and he fell with his face to the ground, and he prayed, my Father, if it is possible, take this cup of suffering away from me, but let what you want be done, not what I want. And then he returned to the disciples, and he found them sleeping. He says, couldn't you men keep watch with me for at least 1 hour? Well, Jesus was a bit disappointed that the disciples fell asleep, especially at the time that he really did need their support. There's another story in the New Testament about a man who fell asleep during a sermon. Yeah, it was found in Acts chapter 20. And the Apostle Paul is speaking. And it says this, a young man named Eutychus was sitting in a window, and he sank into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on and on. Sound asleep, Eutychus fell from the 3rd floor to the ground. And when they picked him up, they thought he was dead. Paul went down and threw himself on the young man. He put his arms around him, and then he said, don't be alarmed, he is now alive. Wow. I hope that none of you fall asleep when I'm talking. And if you do, make sure that you're not sitting in a window to where you would fall out on the ground. Be in a chair if you're going to fall asleep. Or more importantly, maybe in your bed. But if you do fall asleep, Know that you can sleep easy because God is watching out for you. Psalm 4 verse 8 says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. Lord, you alone keep me safe." You know, we don't have to have Wee Willie Winkie to check in on us to see if we're asleep, because I know that God is watching over all of us while we sleep. So rest well tonight. I hope that you have a day that's filled with joy, and above all else, a day that's filled with peace.